Welcome to Disability Book Week, Superstar Authors. I am your host, Kelly M. Likes, and let's set the scene. I am sitting here with my Aunt Judy's favorite sweater. I am wearing a black and white dress with white flowers, and behind me is a shelf of all my favorite books. And today we are with Liz Cooper. We are so happy to have her. She is wearing it looks like the exact same kind of knit blue sweater as I am wearing. She has a gorgeous smile on her face, and she's got a very fluffy cat beside her. So, welcome, Liz. Welcome to Disability Book Week Superstar Authors.
Hi, it's nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. We're glad to have you. All right. Well, we're going to start this off. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I am currently living in Maryland. I grew up in New York though, near New York City, and I was a nurse. I decided to become a teacher somewhere along the line, so I became an elementary school teacher.
Awesome.
And from that point on, I worked my way up through the system and became the supervisor of reading uh, for the county school system. I owned two toy stores. I invented a product that went national and had a little company that manufactured them. Let's see. I at one point decided to go get the certification to become a sleep tech, polysomnography. So I've worn a lot of hats. Been married for more than 52 years.
Congratulations.
It's to the same person. And I have 5 grandchildren, and I'm just loving life. So, again, thanks for having me. I've been writing all my life. I've been writing for uh, all of my adult life. Started out writing with typewriters, of course, and didn't have the luxury of having a computer at that time. So this has made it so much easier
Awesome.
through the years.
Well, I know you have a series of books on Disability Book Week. So, can you tell us a little bit about the books? You could take them one at a time. Tell us a little bit about the books.
Sure. Yeah, besides these, I also I write and illustrate other books as well. However, these are my absolute favorites. They're published by Light Switch Learning, an educational publishing company in New York City. They specialize in social emotional learning, and they just do an awesome job. And they sell both to school systems, but people can also order from them individual books as well. I have 3 right now. I have 2 more on deck that are hopefully coming very soon, but each one features a different main character, but all of the rest of the characters in the stories progress through the books and they're aging up as we go. They start out in 4th grade, and this one is called Bluebell Skinks Wheelchair Kid. And she and her sister decide that it is very necessary to prove to their father that it's perfectly okay to go to school with a wheelchair, that no one's going to uh, be that mean that they can't handle. And she sets out to prove that to the world that she can cause just as much chaos in a wheelchair as any other kid and have a blast doing it. So, as I said, she and her sister do come up with this plan uh, to enroll her in school without anybody finding out in her family. So that was kind of hard to come up with that sort of scenario to make it make sense, but it does. There is a really big twist in the story that I was afraid people wouldn't like, but it's been very successful, so it's been okay. It's more about how other people see someone in a wheelchair rather than trying to make people like kiddos who use wheelchairs feel better about themselves. I wanted to target the kids that often ignore these kids on a playground and say, you're missing out on a really good friend if you don't, kind of bring her into the fold or him. So anyway, this works out real well, and because becomes popular almost immediately. Um, the next one is Mitzi Mufflin, Principal for a Day. Mitzi is blind, and the adults in the school world feel that to make her feel welcome, they should make her principal for a day, which they do. But on her special day, all the principal and all the teachers disappear. So she's left to run the school, and of course, the kids don't want the adults to find out that there's no adults in the or their parents, that there are no adults at the school. They're afraid if they find out, the teachers will be fired, and they'll have to all start the school year over again, and who wants to do that? So, so they come up with very clever ways when the superintendent of schools comes to visit to try to, camouflage the fact that the teachers aren't there, and they do a really good job with that. Moore's Flip Sound Machine continues the storyline or the timeline into the summer that same year, where the kids are going to go into fifth grade. But Moore's Flip is a little bit younger, and he goes to summer camp with the other kids. Morris has autism and uses realistic sound effects to speak rather than words. So he, along the way, discovers that a little team of or a team of counterfeiters is coming to town, and they're going to do some bad things in town. He knows about it, but he doesn't quite know how to tell anybody, so it just sort of skips his mind. But they go to summer camp, and there's hidden jewels in the camp. So he and Mitzi becomes very Mitzi becomes very helpful to him. They discover where the jewels are, and of course the counterfeiters get into it, and it's just it's kind of a I love this story. I think Morris is my favorite character so far. He's kind of great.
I gotta say they sound amazing, and there's more coming too, which is super exciting.
On deck, I have two written that are under consideration. Of course, you always have to hand them in and hope that they accept them. But they one is um, Oslo Ming, a deaf magician. And that's a lot of fun. He makes an entire room of old people disappear at the Mortimer Potts. And these, by the way, are the Mortimer Potts School Series. Um, but at the Mortimer Potts Old Folks Home, he makes them disappear, and he doesn't even know how he did it. So that's that book. And then the next one is Ace Bixby, Newshound, and Ace is an investigative reporter who starts a newspaper at the school, and called the Blam. So they're solving all sorts of mysteries at the fall festival the following year from the in fifth grade. So anyway, that's kind of the five so far.
That's impressive. Now, I have to say that it seems to me you have a lot of disabilities representative. What's your writing process, the research? What goes into writing these books?
That was a challenge because, well, I was a nurse, of course, before I was a teacher. So, and on a playground, I didn't like the way the kids were ignoring one child I'm thinking of in specifically. So I thought that's where I started. I'm going to write a book making that kid the star of the show, and it's not about the disability, but it's about what. Let's be a little more open to characters who are a little different than we are. So what I do is I think of the story first. I really think of the story. What bizarre thing could happen if the teachers all disappeared, or if what could happen? And as far as the characters and their characteristics, with I do have sensitivity readers. I hire a sensitivity reader. Now with I was it was very, very helpful with Mitzi Mufflin because I was not blind. I didn't know I wrote the whole book, but I had no idea if I was on target. So I was at the Baltimore Book Festival, which was an outdoor event, and I saw a woman walking along with a white cane. And she had her daughter with her, who was also apparently blind, and they were they were just bopping along, and I chased after that. Ma'am, the job. He said later, I thought I was going to fall into the harbor because we were on the harbor. And I thought maybe I was going to bump into something. And I said, I'd written this book. I don't know if I'm on target or not with the characteristics. Do you know anybody who would be willing to read it and tell me if I'm okay with this? And she said, I'll do it. So that's how that started. And I met they invited me to their home later, not that day. It turns out that her husband is the president of the National Federation of the Blind.
Oh.
So, They gave me a tour of the National Federation building in Baltimore, which is a city block. It's fantastic. And then showed me all the technology. I met her 2 daughters who are also blind, and her husband is blind, of course, and I spent the day at their house, and, she ordered lunch, and we just had a grand time, and she gave me all sorts of tips, and, then I was, asked to be keynote speaker at the, Maryland, Maryland State Library for the Blind and Print Disabled, so I've met people that way, and now I'm on the board.
That's awesome. Small world, right?
Yes. And I have a similar story with each book on who helped me and so on. So I'm meeting a lot of really cool people. That's all I can say.
Awesome.
Really cool.
Well,
Uh,
what sort of advice would you give to somebody who's thinking about writing a book with somebody with a disability?
Well, I think what you have to do is make sure that again that your facts and your characteristics are respectful and on target. I was called. I was using some verbiage, and it's probably still there in the descriptions, with a little bit of description that it's not really the best description, as I use differently abled, and I understand that's not quite what folks with disabilities wish to be characterized with. So, you have to learn as you go and really be careful with what you're doing. I wanted to stay away from the to me, it's tired, and please, I'm saying that with respect to other authors, but the bully versus the poor victim,
Right.
I wanted to stay away from that altogether. These books are funny, and they're funny because of the circumstances that happen. For instance, Mitzi Mufflin as principal, she's assigned everybody a job, and when they try to in the cafeteria make lunch for everyone, of course, the kids aren't going to eat a plain piece of cheese slapped on bread, but they know they can't cook anything. So she decided, and of course, they left the cheese next to the heater, and it turned into a big block. So they, so she decides to sculpt it. She's a master sculptor, by the way, and they take the portrait of Mortimer Potts down from the wall. One of the kids describes Mortimer Potts to her, and she sculpts Mortimer Potts, and they put a sword in his hand just to make it, you know, fun. And all the kids can't wait to get line up and get a piece of Mortimer Potts with their bread. So, things like that. That's the way I go. So, getting back to your question about writing, is there's so much reliance now. People are starting to go to AI and all of that, and I hate that. It really just, you know, do do your best, work with your voice, and go for it. Be excited about what you're writing. Write what you know.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. All right. Well, it's my favorite part of the interview. Would you please share with us your favorite passage from your book?
Okay, it won't be my favorite, but it's because I like so many parts, but they're too long to explain. So I'll just go with the very, very beginning of Bluebell Skinks Wheelchair Kid, because that is how the whole thing starts. And this was illustrated, by the way. There are internal illustrations as well.
Nice.
And this is Bluebell in the bedroom with her sister Bonnie sitting on the window seat. And
Oh yeah.
friend Frederick Frederick Fry, they call him French for short, French Fry. And yeah, and this first as I said, there's a tremendous twist in this book that I'm just warning your readers. I probably shouldn't say that, but um anyway, because the Hoops Russell, I will say Hoops Russell, the best basketball player in school, who doesn't like anybody who's not as athletic as he is. He thinks she's faking it. And he sets out this whole book is he's setting out to prove she is not disabled. Okay. So that's where we're going. That's the only one with it. I've got a little bit of bully thing happening here. The rest of the book's not what's up so much. Okay. So Bluebell Skinks, uh, Wheelchair Kid, published by, I have to say it because of my publisher, Light Switch Learning. They have a wonderful catalog, blah, blah, blah. Hi guys at Light Switch. Okay. The plan. Bluebell Skinks and her sister had a plan. She was going to secretly enroll herself at Mortimer Potts Elementary School, and in only 3 weeks, she would become the most popular kid in the history of the school, maybe even famous. All she was waiting for was for her father to leave town so he wouldn't find out what his daughters were up to. Bluebell practiced wheeling herself around the bedroom in a purple wheelchair. It was the latest model with a padded seat and a super smooth turning radius. She executed a triple spin before crashing into the wall. Pausing, she cocked her head to one side and listened to make sure that Doris, the housekeeper, wasn't coming up the stairs to investigate the noise. Bluebell didn't detect any footsteps, so she resumed whipping the chair around in circles. Perfect, Bluebell declared. I'm getting really good at this. Bonnie, who had been watching her sister's practice session, rolled her eyes in response. Even though the girls were sisters, they didn't look alike. Bonnie wore glasses, and her blonde hair was neatly tied back with a bow, which contrasted with Bluebell's freckles and wild, frizzy red hair. Their father often said that his daughter's hairstyle matched their personalities. Bluebell was bold and impulsive, whereas Bonnie was calm and organized. Bonnie was perched on the window seat that overlooked the circular driveway to Skinksbury Mansion. She kept a sharp lookout because at any moment a pair of massive wrought iron gates would slide open and the family limo would drive through. Dad was due home from work and definitely wouldn't approve of what the girls were up to. The coast is clear. Dad's not home yet, Bonnie announced. A movement to the left of the gate suddenly caught her attention. She spied a boy climbing over the brick wall. He dropped to the ground and walked briskly up the driveway toward the front door, which was 2 floors below her window. Oh, look, that kid we met yesterday, Frederick, French Fry, is here. Doris will let him in. Let's do this fast, said Bluebell, coming to a sudden stop. We don't have much time to get me enrolled in school. Bonnie nodded and quickly entered the phone number for Mortimer Potts Elementary School on her cell phone. French poked his head into the doorway just as Bonnie's call connected. Hey, guys, he called out cheerily. Can you believe it? The first day of school and I have homework piling up already. He took his hat off and ran his hand through his hair. Wow, you guys live in a really fancy house. It reminds me of a castle. Bluebell wheeled herself over to Bonnie and grabbed the phone. Quiet, French Fry, she commanded. We're calling the school. It's ringing. Come in and shut the door. Shifting her weight more comfortably in the wheelchair, she cleared her throat in the highest-pitched, snooty voice she could manage. Bluebell spoke into the receiver. This is Mrs. Melvin Skinks II. I must speak to the principal at once on a matter of utmost importance. Bluebell, French sputtered. This is not a good. Bluebell shrilled. Who am I speaking? Principal Gribble? You lucky, lucky man. My lovely and talented granddaughter, Bluebell Skinks, has decided to attend your little school. Bonnie waved at Bluebell to get her attention. Don't overdo it, she whispered. Get off the phone as fast as you can before you can think up a lot of questions. Bluebell coughed a few times and spoke faster. She will be arriving tomorrow shortly at 1 o'clock p.m. I trust that you will meet her personally at the front door of the school. 4th grade, yes. My son is that Skinks, the rich one, the head of Skinks Industries. Yes, I said 1 o'clock p.m. My son expects you to extend free courtesy. One more tiny detail. My granddaughter is in a wheelchair. Fine. She ended the call with satisfaction. She tossed her long frizzy hair and turned to French. There, all set. Now all we have to do is wait for Dad and Bonnie to leave town tomorrow morning and the coast will be clear, so I can go to your school. This is perfect, French. Don't you think this is a great plan? Oh, it was a little bit more. French dropped the plush purple into the plush purple carpet in Bonnie's bedroom, groaning and burying his head under a pile of pillows that Bluebell had tossed on the floor. His voice was muffled. I can't believe you two are actually going through with this. You're going to get into so much trouble. You worry too much, said Bluebell. Watch how good I'm getting driving this thing. She spun the chair around in a circle, backed up to the wall, and suddenly shot out, twirling the chair around. Whee! My own obstacle course. Okay, so that kind of gives you a sense of where this is going and what happens when she and Mr. Grimble, the principal, all sorts of problems. He arranges a disability day that just does not turn out would like her to do, and one thing here's where have brought their dogs to school. Of course, they're none of them trained, but that's that. Those are my books, and
Awesome. Liz, I gotta say, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for being a Disability Book Week superstar author. I really appreciated spending time with you today and getting to learn about your books.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.